And thanks for inviting us in on this election night. This primary today may boil down to the balance of power. Voters deciding who moves on to November. Sheriffs, prosecutors, clerks, counselors, all on the ballot. But the biggest races will ultimately shape the U.S. House and the Indiana State House for years to come. We've got team coverage for you on this election eve with reporters covering voter turnout and the biggest congressional races across the state of Indiana. We'll get to all of them in a moment, but let's begin tonight with critical Indiana Senate races where President Donald Trump has a vested interest. Our Dustin Grove joins us in the newsroom tonight. So Dustin, President Trump committed to defeat the Indiana lawmakers who voted down his redistricting push in our state. How did that go?
Well, for President Trump, Scott, and his candidates, it went very well. That's because at least 5 sitting state senators lost their seats tonight to primary challengers endorsed by President Trump. Let's go to the big board and show you. Senate District 1, Daniel Durnall out tonight, voted out. State Senator Linda Rogers, in office for several years, she also was knocked off tonight by her challenger. District 19, longtime and high-ranking Senator Travis Holdman lost tonight to Trump-endorsed candidate Blake Fichter. State Senate District 21, Jim Buck, in office since 1994, lost his seat tonight to Tracy Powell, who will move on to the November election. Greg Walker, Senate District 41, lost his job tonight to Michelle Davis, another Trump-endorsed challenger. At this point, the only senator to survive is Greg Good in District 38. He won tonight. Look at this, State Senate District 23. Incumbent Senator Spencer Deary up right now by just 3 votes. So that race is still clearly too close to call. So we'll continue to follow that. But basically, Scott, this means that these candidates who voted against President Trump, well, in large part, they're out. So his plan to oust them worked, and you can bet lawmakers and other politicos in other states are watching and seeing that President Trump still holds a lot of power and carries a lot of weight with his endorsements.
All right, Dustin, thanks for breaking that down. That's a story we'll be covering over the next few days. So from the Indiana Capitol now to the U.S. Capitol, we want to start in our state's 7th Congressional District. This is where Democrat Andre Carson secured his chance to defend his seat in November. Our State House reporter Emily Longnecker is breaking down the numbers. Emily?
Well, going into tonight, Congressman Carson faced 3 other candidates, the most significant challenge to his candidacy that he has seen in years. In the end, he won the Democratic primary with over 60% of the vote.
That's the closest margin of victory Carson has had in a primary since his first race in 2008. This race saw challengers questioning Carson's record representing Indianapolis and his effectiveness in energizing Democrats in Marion County. Coming in second with just over 20% of the vote, Destiny Wells, followed by George Hornado with 10%, and Denise Paul Hatch coming in at just under 4%. Shortly after the race was called for Carson, he issued a statement which said in part, quote, "This race has never been about me. It's always been about we. Marion County voters turned out because we believe in a future where no one struggles to buy groceries or pay bills. We believe in a country that works for everyone, not just the ultra-wealthy." The issue of affordability from housing to utility costs became a consistent theme in the race, with not a lot of daylight between candidates on the issues. In the end, voters had to decide if they were happy with the job Congressman Carson has done in Washington for nearly 20 years now. And despite a competitive primary, Marion County Democratic Party Chair Mila Eldridge is not worried about party unity come November.
We are all Democrats. At the end of the day, we are all Democrats, and all Democrats are welcome to have a seat at the table. And again, the voters spoke, and they chose Congressman Carson to be their representative. And this is what democracy looks like.
Carson's win also comes at a time of low approval ratings for Congress, following the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Also in his statement, Carson alluded to the work ahead, saying that Democrats have the chance to regain the House majority in November.
Now Carson faces Republican Patrick McCauley in the November general election. Emily Longnecker, 13 News.
All right, Emily, thanks so much. So let's show you what happened with the Republicans in District 7. As Emily mentioned, Patrick McCauley will now face Congressman Carson in November. He defeated Felipe Rios with 84% of the vote. Now, there were 7 Democrats running in District 5. Jenna Webster spoke tonight with State Senator J.D. Ford, who will face incumbent Republican Victoria Spartz in November's general election.
It was a crowded primary here in the 5th Congressional District for the Democrats. 7 were running. The victor tonight is J.D. Ford. So what is your message to voters tonight? What do you want them to know about you heading into the November election?
Yeah, first and foremost, what I want to say is just thank you to the voters of the 5th Congressional District who are trusting me to carry our banner this November. We saw so much energy in Hamilton County today, and actually really all across the 5th District. I traveled to all 6 counties today, people were really excited coming out of the polling locations and just saying, hey, we voted for you, we're excited for you. We've watched your career in the state Senate for the past 8 years. We know that you work for Hoosiers, and I think really that's what I'm really excited for is to take that message of what we talked about on the campaign trail this primary season, which was affordability, accountability, and Hoosier voices. I'm excited to take that message all the way to November.
Is this a district that you think you can flip for Democrats in November?
Absolutely. And people told me back in 2018 in my state Senate district that could never be flipped. And we made history by flipping that district. People have said to me that there's no way that the 5th Congressional District is going to flip, and I would just tell people just to watch me. Watch the momentum, watch our campaign, because I think we have the momentum behind us to flip this district.
All right, J.D. Ford, thank you. This is going to be your race in November, J.D. Ford versus Victoria Spartz, a race we're going to be watching very closely.
All right, Jenna, thanks so much. So Congressman Victoria Spartz fended off a challenge from Scott King tonight. She got 60% of tonight's vote. Republican Congressman Jim Baird will be back on the ballot this fall. Alex Almanza talked with one of his challengers tonight about going up against a Trump-backed candidate.
Yeah, and we spoke with Craig Haggard, who says that he went into this knowing that there was a small percentage of taking that seat. But Haggard went up against 2 other Republicans in the race, John Piper and the incumbent Jim Baird. Now, Baird's time in Congress is already a big advantage for him, but to have a Trump endorsement is a huge ticket win to have. You may also have seen the ads on TV, Baird touting his tenure and experience in Indiana and D.C. Meanwhile, Marine vet Craig Haggard kind of came out as this newcomer who challenged the status quo, stepping away from the General Assembly to focus his attention on this race. And from the time those first numbers came in tonight, nerves were already high. But here's what he had to say following the projection.
I'm used to taking challenging things. It's once again why I joined the Marine Corps, because I wanted to challenge myself, and I'm going to continue to fight for Hoosiers, and I want to represent them. I want to fight in D.C., and so it's not over.
Haggard also announcing to 13 News that he plans to run again in District 4, and he doesn't plan on giving up. Now that things have started to wind down here in the Indiana primaries, all eyes are set for the November election. And in District 4, it'd probably be no surprise that the Republicans continue the representation. In Mooresville, Alex Almanza, 13 News.
All right, Alex, thanks so much. A crowded field of 8 Democrats running in Indiana's 4th Congressional District. Drew Cox won tonight with 30% of the vote. Now, we've seen a spike in voter turnout during this May primary. Our Jenny Runovich continues our live team coverage tonight. She's digging into the rising election interest that's leading to those rising numbers.
Here at the Marion County Election Board Service Center, where the votes get counted, it's the voter count that's the big story. Turnout in Marion County had a huge surge, nearly 100,000 ballots cast between early voting and Election Day voting in person. That's about 6,000 more than the last primary. Marion County had a 14.9% turnout. Compared to previous primaries, that's big. Normally in a midterm primary, turnout's just in the single digits. Even rain didn't keep people away this time. Engagement from Hoosier voters, that's encouraging.
It says that people in Marion County have something to say, whether it's a response to the national rhetoric, whether it's a response to state or local politics, I don't know. But they came out to cast their ballots, and we're glad they did, and we're hoping for massive turnout this November.
Election officials also tell me there were no major problems at any of the vote centers on this election day. If you'd like to dig further into the numbers for voter turnout, we've got them for you on WTHR.com. In Indianapolis, Jenny Runovich, 13 News.
All right, Jenny, thanks so much. So our election coverage is just getting started on this Tuesday night. We'll be highlighting more races throughout tonight's newscast. Plus, you'll find all the results scrolling on the bottom part of your screen. You can watch extended interviews with the winners. It's streaming right now over on WTHR+. Angela, we've got some rain around tonight, don't we?
We have a lot of rain around tonight, Scott, and you can see it is still raining. How much longer, and more on the cool down coming in your forecast.
Also still ahead, gas prices may be heading down when one expert says you could see that relief, and some quick tips to save until it happens. We've got those stories next. But here's a quick look at some of the other big races tonight. Again, you can find the full results on WTHR.com/elections. We'll step aside and be right back.